Today we are diving into the topic of sales and how to kickstart your journey in sales, or if you already hopefully have worked on it a bit, there might be some tangible outcomes after this session you can already start implementing. At least that's what we hope you get some good ideas from the session today. We'll start with a small introduction by one of our newest partners, Strongest, and then we'll go into a panel discussion with some professionals in the field. But yeah, without further ado, let's welcome Tero on stage.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Excited to be here this morning. Glad to see there are so many of you. My name is Tero Järvi, and I coach sales at Strongest Group. And this morning it's all about sales and customer acquisition. I wanted to ask, for starters, how many of you have worked in a sales organization or worked in sales in general before? Okay, quite a lot of hands. Great. So we have some pros here. And to be honest, about 5 years ago, funny story, I was just working at Subway. I was making sandwiches, and I would have been terrified to cold call strangers. But since then, I've been working at Strongest Group. I've been helping more than 20 companies in their customer acquisition. And those companies have varied in size from micro companies and to large plus 100 million in revenue companies. And obviously, there are some differences in companies that are such different sized, but some key elements, they remain true. So I thought I would share this morning with you guys some of those learnings that I've gathered in this past 2 years that I've been working in B2B. And let's get right into it. Let's talk about ideal customer profile. You may take notes, you may take photos. And the ideal customer profile, what it really is, it's your best guess, your best educated guess about the most potential customers for your company. And there are 3 main factors that you could use to start narrowing down the scope, because not every company or not every person, not every consumer is your ideal customer. So in B2B, there are 3 main factors, and those are the company, then the person, and also the trigger. And what those mean, we're going to get into that. Well, for starters, the company, obviously, there are some ways to segment and some ways to narrow down, and those would be, for example, revenue, then location. Is it necessary to be here in Helsinki? Can you work with someone abroad also? Then the industry, obviously. Are you working in construction, or are you working with companies that are management consultants, etc.? So many different industries. And also headcount is one good metric, one good way to define the company's size. And you can start with that. And then you think about, then you should ask yourself, really, you should ask yourself, whose problems am I helping to solve with my product or with my service? And that comes down to the buyer persona, or the persona. So is it HR's problems? Is it IT's problems? Is it sales? Is it marketing? And then you start finding those people with the fitting title. Maybe it's the CEO, CMO, CFO. Depends. It all depends on your product. And then the trigger. This might be the most important, the trigger. And this is something individual for your company. As you might be thinking that, what makes this prospect, this company particularly good at this time for them to be my customer? And it could be something like, maybe they launched a new product, or maybe they are hiring new people in the company and you're seeing that they're growing. Or maybe they had a strategy renewal, maybe they have reorganized, and this is a good time for you to step in and help them. So those are some triggers, and always be A/B testing new segments, because you never know, there might be diamonds hiding in there, some segment that you wouldn't have even guessed before. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the B2B sales process. It all starts with prospecting. And prospecting means finding those companies, those contact information of the companies and people that fit your ideal customer profile. And then maybe there's like 1,000 of them in Finland, let's say there's 1,000. And then you start to systematically contact them through multiple channels. And you might guess, as I work at Strongest Group, my favorite tool is the phone, so cold calling, it's still the king, but it's terrifying. For someone starting, you're calling strangers, so really, who enjoys that? Is there anyone who enjoys calling strangers? Okay, we have some brave people, takes a lot of courage. Yeah, but also good channels for contacting, email for sure, text messages, and LinkedIn. You should start building your personal brand and doing social sales, but that's a whole another topic for a different time. So let's get moving on. And you have to keep in mind, what is your objective when you are contacting the person? It is to leave a positive impression and to spark their interest in what you are selling. And for your objective is to find their need, find their interest, and always be closing. I don't know if you've seen the movie, the Glenn Ross, Myyntitykit in Finnish. It's where the sales trainer comes to the office and tells the salespeople that always be closing. And it's satire, it's comedy, but there is some truth to it, because you should always be scheduling the next steps. You should be, you should know what you're doing. Like, you set up a meeting with them. And in the meeting, you discover further possibilities for cooperation and for them to be your customer. And in the meeting, you set up for the next meeting, which is the proposal presentation, obviously. And after that becomes the very dangerous part of sales cycle. You leave your customer with the offer. And this is dangerous because they might not buy from you. They might be looking for competitors' offers, they might be comparing prices. So this is where we do the follow-up, to stay in touch. In Finnish we call this, Toni, what do we call this? Välipeli, exactly. And it means just that you need to stay in contact with the prospect, with the lead, with the potential customer. And maybe send them a delightful message, maybe call them, ask how's it going, how did they feel about the meeting, maybe send them some interesting article or webinar that would be helpful for them to solve their needs. And after that comes the closing. You either win or lose, and if you lose, don't just ditch the company, don't just ditch the prospect. You throw it in the first part of the sales cycle or sales process. You might contact them again in 1 year. Maybe the situation has changed for them. Okay, I hope I'm not using too much time. So let's get moving on to how to approach in cold calling or cold outreach, the outbound sales. You should do your background research. Read about their company. Check their LinkedIn profile. Check their company website. Check recent articles or news if there's something going on. So you can talk about those. So personalize your approach. Always talk about their business. Make insightful questions. Because really, how do we lead a conversation? It's by making good questions, right? Yeah, that gets the attention, that gets the people to think and they talk, and you need to listen closely, because there are some people that are like alligator salespeople. You know what alligator salesman is? Alligator salesperson is someone who has a big mouth and small ears, right? Not listening, always talking, always talking. Okay, and always be talking about the benefits for the customer, not the technicalities, not the product information, not the features of your product. Obviously, there is time for that also. But what they're mostly interested in, at least in the first contact, is what is in it for me? Why should I listen to you? Why should I meet you? Why should I use my valuable time with you? There must be some benefit. Maybe it's saving euros. Maybe it's making processes more efficient. Maybe it's better risk management. 2 minutes. Okay, thank you. And yeah, always book a meeting for further discovery. So that's that, and some key takeaways here. Define your ideal customer profile and always be A/B testing new customers. And personalize your approach to fit their business needs and interest. You shouldn't talk about yourself, you should talk about them and what's in it for them. Always listen closely. And collect and track your data in your CRM. HubSpot and Pipedrive, they are good options. And you can integrate more intelligence tools to those also. And that's more about marketing. I think Smartlist, Julianna knows more about that. And maybe we'll have a conversation about that in the panel also. So yeah, I think that's that. Do you have any questions at this point? Perfect. Well, my name is Tero Järvi. I'm from Strongest Group. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we'll have a panel discussion. So if I could have the speakers on stage, please.
All right. Thank you for joining me on the stage. We have Henrik here from AIContentfy. You're head of sales, right? And partner.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Henrik. I'm head of sales and also partner in AIContentfy.
What does AIContentfy do, really?
We do SEO optimization. We have our own SaaS product and also a service on top of that.
Okay, perfect. So search engine optimization to get more traffic to websites and leads from there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. What about you, Julian? Your strategic partnerships?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Julianna Alanne. I'm from Smartly and I lead all of our strategic partnerships. What that means is that basically the big media platforms. So I work with Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, mostly on a daily basis.
Sounds interesting. And Toni, our CEO from Strongest Group, also thank you for joining the panel.
Thank you, Tero. And in Strongest Group, we do B2B customer acquisitions by lead generation.
Yes, exactly. And I have some questions here prepared for you. I thought we'd talk a little bit about leveraging data and analytics for sales. As I mentioned, the HubSpot and Pipedrive, they are good options for tracking the data, keeping on point on what is going on with any account and such. What would you say, Henrik, are the key data points you track to measure the effectiveness of your sales efforts?
Firstly, the number of calls, number of meetings, but I think the most important one is the euros that I bring in. So, but yeah, because I don't have a big sales team yet. I just hired my first 3 sales guys, so I don't really track my own doing so much. But and also the deal stage, of course, like the pipeline and stuff.
Okay, perfect. What about Julianna?
I think it really depends, of course, of the stage of the company as well, and like which growth stage you're in. I agree in terms of course, just the overall activity level, like meeting level. I think if you're in the more of a start of the journey, I think it's more important to be super obsessed about every single customer that you actually have in the pipeline versus like where we're at. What I've seen is that it becomes more of like a pipeline obsession. We've seen, especially in the last few years, when it's been a little bit more challenging environment for new business sales, is that the key is to have big enough of a pipeline. Like that's just purely it. Like we have a certain multiplier that what's our target and what are we trying to close, and that's the one metric that has actually helped us the most to ensure that we're hitting our targets.
Okay, good answer. Toni, can you explain how the pipeline works? What kind of numbers are you putting in there? Maybe in regards to the sales process also.
Yeah, in our process, we put the first thing in the pipeline is the amount of prospect we have identified, and the second one is the amount of activity we do to the prospects, like calls or some kind of contacts. And then we calculate the hit rate, conversations to the meetings. And after that, we calculate the hit rate from meetings to the proposals, and after that we calculate the hit rate between proposals and the closed deals and the amount which a typical deal comes in, like the medium deal size. Yes, those are our key criteria for the sales process.
So conversions and medium deal size. Perfect, perfect. What about ideal customer profile that we started, or I started my presentation with? What are the key indicators for you, Julianna, that you look for when determining if a prospect fits your ICP?
Yeah, I think to me the ICP is one of the most important things in sales overall, like for you to actually know who is a fit, and also like have the courage to also walk away from the deals that you like. Actually, I think that every advertiser is going to really much respect for you to save their time and say that maybe this is not actually the best solution for you, but if you conquer, this and this issue. For us, it's about customer size, like just we're an enterprise tool, so for it to make sense, like you need to have a certain level of complexity in your advertising activity and also a certain level of spend. And usually, of course, like we're starting to see, like, I mean, you mentioned triggers about the ICP. So overall, like we have a lot of those signals that we know specifically that a tool like Smartly can truly change people's lives. For us, it's also, of course, about you need to talk about an ad tech platform very differently. If you're talking to the performance marketer, usually they get it right away. They're the ones that love these type of tools. But then, like, how do you then actually tell the story to a CMO? It's much more about the what are the actual results that you're going to be able to drive. So able to also differentiate the messaging depending who's the persona you're talking to.
Yeah. Agreed. You have to personalize. What about Henrik? Who is the ideal customer profile of AIContentfy? How do you determine it?
We got two ICPs. So we help B2B SaaS companies and then e-commerce companies. And I think the ICP is very important because we have been narrowing our scope to just two industries. Because we find out that there was the biggest problems that we can solve with our solution. And like Julianna said, we are in that kind of stage that I do it by myself, so I don't got time to basically just to spend with the customers. So narrowing the scope for just two industries has been super useful, and we've been growing super fast because of like this kind of sniper focus.
Sniper focus, I like that term. Yeah, and obviously, if you put, dare I say, crap in the first part of the sales process, there's not coming diamonds out of the last part. So the prospecting part is very important.
I can mention an example. When we started our company 2 years ago, we tried to meet about everybody, and we set up 80 meetings for ourselves and only got 2 small customers from those meetings, and it took a lot of my time and my co-founder time. But after 1 year, we have narrowed our ICP so much that now we go to the sales meetings and close about 25% from the meetings. So our hit rate and our value for the customer in the meetings have gone up by narrowing down and learning from the meetings.
Perfect. What about, Henrik, how do you balance between broadening your market reach and maintaining a focused ICP? You mentioned you have 2 ICPs, the B2B SaaS and the e-commerce. So obviously there is not infinite number of those companies either. So how do you broaden that? You go abroad or you find new segments? How do you do that?
No, we have been just focusing on those 2 because like I told, I think the focus is just the most important thing, and we just tried to like I have this kind of I see it as a Pareto's law that 20% of our customers bring 80% of our revenue. So we just focus on those 2, and we are not trying to find any new segments, But I think next year we have to. But yeah, I think the sniper focus on just 2 segments is the key, and now we've been learning so much, because every time we start a new customer, we found out what the problem that we solve really is. So we go very deep into the problem, and we just focus on the one problem and 2 segments.
Yeah, thank you. What about Julian? What about the broadening of the ICP? Do you have some comments for that?
Yeah, I think that for us, like, of course, the ICP is wide in that sense that, you know, if you have a complexity in advertising and you're spending an X amount of dollars in your advertising, it does put the ICP like pretty wide in terms of, let's say, Fortune 500 companies. But then I think that then we go more down to like industry and vertical level, so that you know that certain industries work in a certain way. And at least when we start widening the ICP, I think that what we try to ask ourselves is that what has actually changed in the product, so that does it actually really make sense right now, that to like, is there something new that right now changes our scope so that we can actually approach this new, let's say, like a new industry or a new vertical. For example, like we've been pretty performance focused from the product side, and recently we launched more of a like an upper funnel measurement product for bigger like brands. So all of a sudden we can go after like CPGs or like that type of like more traditional advertisers that are going like spending much more money on the upper funnel advertising. So I think that that's a very concrete example that like, why would you, like, I guess that exactly be very ruthless of your time, and if there's actually something new that has changed either in the marketplace or in your product, then I think that it's a good time to try again.
I think that's a good answer. Something has to change, because why else not just stick with the segment, with the ideal customer profile that is working for you? What about Toni? What do you think about? Have any thoughts about that, broadening the scope?
Yeah, first, focus is the key. Like I mentioned, our example with the 80 meetings, you have to narrow down and use your valuable time by focusing with one problem, like Henrik told, and one customer segment, maybe 2 max by A/B testing. And after you have focused and like roll over one segment, you can find another one or go abroad. But I recommend the focus for 1 or 2 years, because maybe if you are not focused on one segment and one problem, you will be running around wasting time and not going deep.
Exactly. I think some people here in the audience also might be wondering, what qualities do you look for when hiring new sales talent? Because obviously we have entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders here. So I would like to know, Henrik, you told that you're just hiring new people. What kind of qualities are you looking for?
Yeah, so we got like 5 key traits. So first is coachability, second is integrity, and third one is work ethic, and then fourth one is, of course, what we are looking for is that they have prior success in either sales or then in sports, because that defines that they're hard workers and and coachable. But I think the coachability is the first factor that we are looking for when we're hiring.
Yeah, good answer. What about Julianna?
I think I've been hiring quite a lot lately, and I think that my conclusion, like over and over again, is that it's so much more about the soft skills and the attitude of the person than necessarily the background in terms of like subject matter expertise or hard skills. Like I found myself in the last few quarters, like over and over again, interviewing people who are like perfect on paper, but then just like something is missing. I think also if you're looking for like builders and doers, I think that you can pretty quickly see that. Like I think that maybe not necessarily, at least like what I've experienced is that maybe the like a very strong like corporate environment background is like it doesn't necessarily build up that like problem solving skills and that like same level of hunger. Of course, like I mean I'm oversimplifying here. I'm not saying that that's always the case, but But I think that's one of the biggest things that you can see, that are people more used to executing processes versus building them themselves.
Yes, agree. What about Toni? We at Strongest Group, we are especially specialized in sales, so all of us are salespeople. So what are you looking for when looking for new hires?
Yeah, in a couple of years I have hired now 30 people to do cold outreach and sales. And I have noticed same thing that Julia, you just told, that somebody good in paper probably not always will be good in our company in the cold calling, even if they have a previous experience. But one of the most important thing is the social skills, like you told, the soft skills and social skills. And in sales, there is one very, very important thing. In every human interaction, there is one very, very important thing, and it's trust. Can you build trust and gain trust? And like trustworthy is something that I have a gut feeling for, and I think everybody has a gut feeling for if you trust somebody. And even if somebody is very good in the paper and very good in social skills, but if my gut feeling is that maybe I do not trust this person in this interview, we cannot hire them, because trust is the base of every human interaction, and I recommend to listen to your gut feeling about that.
Yeah, right. And now that, Henrik, you are hiring new people, have you thought about how you are going to onboard and train the new sales team members to ensure that they succeed? What kind of training program have you designed?
So firstly, when I started, we didn't have any onboarding thing, because we were a startup, and Teemu just basically threw me in. But now when the first sales guys started, I just take them with me into meetings. I show them how I create value for our customers, build business cases, and make offers, and just hands-on. And I try to like be hands-on in their daily work every day.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Lots of coaching.
Yeah, also showing the example, leading by example, I think are good things. What about Julianna?
I think the most important thing is to ensure that, as we're all very busy people, is that you actually take the time to invest in the onboarding of a new person, because that's going to be the best investment of your time. The faster you're able to bring someone on board. I mean, I do believe in throwing people to the deep end and learning by doing, but also at the same time ensure that you're there for some of the training wheels along the way. Like, some things that I've also seen that are really good in the onboarding process is like try to define very clear goals. Like, what are you actually, like, it's easier for people to understand what you're looking from them if you're also trying to paint the picture that, hey, by the way, maybe I'm not expecting you to do like 100% of all of this, but by, let's say, in the end of 4 to 6 months, but this is the level what I expect, like that, because then you can also start drawing the focus towards the right areas.
So setting goals and aligning that with training programs and giving some training and coaching. What about Toni?
Yeah, I have experience from many companies where I have been onboarded to sales, and the worst example is the trying to deep end without any introduction to the product or the company. It called in Finland luuri käteen ja luukuttamaan. So give me a phone and just call the script, and it's awful for everybody. So I do not recommend that at all. At Strongest Group, we have one day with me as a co-founder for every new person. So at that day we have a lot of important things, but one of the most important things is the train how to add value for the customer, our ICP, and how to dissolve the feeling of risk. So in every sales interaction, every commercial interaction, and there is three main things: the trust, which is the basic, and then you have to gain value for the customer, the feeling of value, something which is value for you is not always value for me, and the rest of the risk. So everybody buyers have the feeling of risk. So we have to bring the risk on the table, identify and solve the risk and the feeling of risk. So we have a lot of time identifying how to gain trust, how to add more value for the customer, and how to resolve the feeling of risk in our sales team. And of course, the company intro and everything. So one most important thing for the new person is to feel in sales the self-confidence, because sales is about 80% giving the feelings to the other person and maybe 20% the reason. And the feeling, if you can only give what you already got. So if you are not self-confident, you cannot give somebody the feeling of self-confidence which you need to buy. You have to be confident to buy something. So the salesperson always have to be confident about himself and or herself, or about the company and the product. So on board until the new salesperson is confident.
Thank you. That's a good answer. Let's see the next question here. Let's talk a little bit about best practices in outbound sales. Henrik, what outbound sales strategies have proven most effective for your organization?
Of course, cold calling, and then of course collaboration with you guys, and I do also a lot of emailing and LinkedIn. But I think in terms of outbound sales, the phone is the most important one. I like to make a very thorough discovery with our customers, and I call a lot. Even though you guys book a lot of good meetings, but still I use the phone a lot. And LinkedIn has proved a very valuable channel, and the ROI has been incredible. Because when I started, I didn't have any LinkedIn post, and our founder basically made me to make the LinkedIn post, and now it's giving lots of leads from my LinkedIn. So LinkedIn and cold calling.
Okay, so you are combining like content marketing by publishing on LinkedIn, then you look for leads in there, and cold calling, messaging.
Yeah, like multi-channel approach, I think is the best one.
Yeah, true. What about Julianna? I would like to have like a view from your point, because Smartly is a global company. Does this remain true for companies in global market also, or are we some kind of different animal here in Finland that we like to cold call and we like to book meetings?
Yeah, I think that the cold calling isn't necessarily like our biggest lead generation channel, but I guess that the beauty of all of sales in the end is it's about the right messages to the right people, like with the right frequency. So I think, of course, I'm not saying that cold calling wouldn't also work across the globe, but I actually think that especially in this level of enterprise sales, it's such a longer cycle for you to get the meeting, which is that I believe a lot in the power of advocacy and recommendations, so that we're usually trying to get that type of for example, follow our Smartly lovers, who maybe used the tool in the past, or because it's a small industry, people move along. This is also where the platform partners that I work closely with, of course, come into play. They're technically 100% of their business could be our business, so we also put a lot of efforts in educating them to understand that what are the solutions we can provide, what are the things that we can accelerate, also to drive them results, and of course all kinds of events, and we've been putting a lot of efforts in marketing, and also especially the last few years in account-based marketing. So when you really know who are the big whales that you're trying to go after, actually spend the effort on those in multiple ways, in LinkedIn, but also through like events and trying to maybe even bring them along for some more exclusive events.
Yeah, I like that. It's like aligning the sales and marketing with the account-based marketing, and obviously the references and the evangelists, those people who are very happy with your product. You have to use their voice, because as Toni was talking about the trust. What creates more trust than hearing someone who is in the same situation as you as a customer, promoting something, telling, "Oh, this solved all my problems. My company grew after that, and we got all of like the references and the using the voice of your happiest customers." I like that. What about Toni?
Yeah, I have heard that Finland is one of the world's best cold calling markets. So you can probably reach anybody in Finland by just calling them. It's absolutely fantastic. It's an opportunity. And but I think also the Finnish market is going to the way that Julianna told, that maybe your personal brand and your network will be more relevant in the future, because everybody is bombarded by the contacts. So they are thinking about who is reaching me now. And if they know you some way, they are probably answering your message or your call. And our own example is that in the first year of Strongest Group, and we are cold outreach lead generation company, 70% of our own customers came from which we call our LinkedIn bubble. So they came from social networks, they came from recommendations, they came from our ex-work friends, or anywhere close to our circle. But in our second year, 70% of our new customers came from cold outreach, because our social circle is just as much as it is. So it be like gain what was could be gained from it. And the bigger our company has came, the more relevance the target ICP and the cold outreach to that target ICP have come.
Yes, very true, very true. All right. I have a next question here. How do you personalize your outreach to make a genuine connection with potential clients? Because, as you said, people are bombarded with cold outreach emails. I bet you guys are getting a lot of emails and phone calls from all kinds of salespeople. So what really sets a good salesperson apart, a good personalized approach? What would you say about that, Henrik?
I think it's just about asking questions. So when I meet a client, I don't speak about myself. I don't speak about our product even at the first meeting. So I just ask questions. And I try to get very deep into the problem that we are solving, and like try to understand deeply the customer. And then after that, we might have another meeting, and even before sending a proposal. So the answer is that understanding the customer is the most important, and this is why we have been growing so fast, because we have been focusing only on the customer and only on the one problem that we can solve, which is creating more inbound sales to our customers. So I think asking questions and going deep into the customer's world, and stop speaking about yourself, just ask questions.
Yes, that's true. What about Julianna? Do you agree with that, and do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think that in the very early days of Smartly, especially, we were a small, like no-name partner all of a sudden, like trying to fix the problems and accelerate like some of the biggest brands advertising, and actually like the personalization went to the level that we would build the product in front of the clients for their needs. So I think that to me is the biggest level of personalization that actually that's really what made all the difference, is that we took the listening to that level, that okay, we might not have what you need right now, but I'm going to build it for you, like right now. Is this what you want? That's like one of the biggest lessons that I still try to take with me, like every day, like even in the different stages of the company. I think that like now, for example, one of the best personalization tactics is that if you're going to do a pitch for someone, like do the effort of actually personalizing it to their brand. Like for example, in our case, like it makes all the difference when you actually build out the visual examples to that customer's world, even if it would be you can of course go all the way in building it for their brand, so that it things just come to life. Like don't lean on hypotheticals, but show them with the things that are familiar to them. They're like, oh wow, like my ads could look like this. I've used this in the past for my also purely for cold outreach as well, that you actually build out the visual ads with the branding of the client that you're looking. That it's a lot more confusing to open an email when it has like something that you recognize than completely something that doesn't really ring a bell.
Yeah, so I'm getting a feeling that you guys don't like generic product salespeople that are just showing you, this is what we got, and talking about themselves. What about Toni? Do you have something to add?
These were so great answers that I have nothing to add, but to say the bar to success in cold outreach is still very, very low. So when you do the personalization and give the other people feeling that you have done your research about them and you are reaching them out because you want to help them, not to help yourself and not about yourself, but about them, you will probably surprise by positive way 80% of the decision makers you are approaching, because still so many salespeople just call to them about how great they are and how great their company is, and it's boring. So you can make all about the customer and make a positive impact by that way.
That's a good answer. And the time is 9:44 a.m. and we have just 1 minute left, and I think it's time for the Q&A. We could move right into that, right?
Yeah, let me just clarify. You've got 15 minutes for the Q&A. So if there's any questions in the audience, just please raise up your hand and I'll come to you with the mic. And if you do a brief introduction, and then you can ask your question. I already have 3 lined up, so let's get going.
All right, so I'm Walid. I work for a VC and I coach business development and sales, and it's a nightmare in Finland. It feels like you. It's like discovering a supermodel in a subway. It's super rare. And adding to that, I've traveled a lot. In Brazil, for example, CTOs are selling. They sell better than half of our salespeople here in Finland. So my question is, how hard is it to coach Finns to sell?
That's true. Maybe there is some truth to the stereotypical Finnish people that we are not such extroverted people, but I don't think it requires you to be very extroverted. How hard is it to coach someone? I think if you have the will, you will find a way, and it's more about the coachability and that you are a curious person, and that you connect with your coach also. I think that's very important. When new people start at Strongest Group and I start the training with them, I obviously need to first figure out who they are, what are their dreams, and then through that I can build the trust and try to like mentor them and really see some results in that. But really, we have a certain personality and temperament, each and every one of us. So if you are super unsalesy people, there's not a lot you or me could do for a person like that.
I find a lot of humor in this because I've seen the full kind of circle and the journey of the very Finnish, like, you know, product first and engineering led sales style to more of like a very American sales style, and, you know, like, how do you kind of do the full circle? I actually feel that for us, I think that there's beauty in both. We found a lot of it's interesting, like when we started hiring our first US salespeople, they were like, these like Finnish guys, like, it's amazing how long they can be silent. Like, they're just forcing the client to speak. It's like that actually embraced the Finnish silence was something that they embedded into their sales book of just stay, you know, like somebody is going to fill the silence at some point. But I also feel that there's a lot of, you know, like we used to show up to meetings like, well, hello, we're from Smartly and here's the product. And like, then you just like go in versus trying to actually like paint the picture. Like some people who would have actually much worse of a product would do much better work in selling. But today I feel like there's somewhere you need to find the midway, like somewhere in there that actually try to embrace those lessons of the extreme honesty, and then find like what's the right level of sparkle to add from maybe more of the global sales style.
Yeah, I have noticed that the people without the sales experience before are the best to coachable, because one of the first questions in our onboarding is what the other people thinks sales is about. So that will reveal their philosophy about the sales. And if you think the sales is about the other people, your customer, and how to gain trust and help them, the Finnish people are very good at gaining trust. We are trustworthy people. It's in our culture, and it's one of our strengths. So when they find out that the sales is not about you and your product and making yourself like bigger or something like that, but it's about the customer and making customers' life better and gaining meaningful relationships by trust, like the weight drops. And it comes much easier after that.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Mehdi from Intelligent Glue. First of all, thank you very much for very great. And also, I'm curious to know, you state that I understand your ICPs, which are about the SaaS, B2B SaaS, and also about the e-commerce. It's really great. And also, I was amazed. 25% of your ICPs, which are reached by the cold calling or maybe cold they are going to be contracted. They are going to be make the agreement. It's amazing for me. While we are at our company are helping SMEs in sales, it's always challenging how to prepare a data bank of the ICPs. Yes, we have made the narrow as much as we can, the ICP and also everything. Yes, I fully agree with you. How could we prepare? It's challenging our clients to prepare a data bank of our ICPs that we could raise the rate of making them the agreement. It means that raising the agreement rate in ICPs.
Thank you for the question. I think Julianna might have some insight on this about the data-driven ICP prospecting.
Yeah, well, I can say that our pipeline closing rate is definitely not at that level that it was like in terms of like finding the right people. I think that for us, it's all overall, it's about like ensuring that there's a certain hygiene in place from the width of the pipeline and also like the activity level from the meetings. I think we use a lot of different types of softwares. One of the most difficult thing for us is that sometimes a really big name brand might actually not have a really big advertising budget. Like that doesn't, so that's like the one factor that's not usually available in the public data points. But what we actually do a lot is that, for us, like we're lucky in that sense that ads are public. So we always like trying to also investigate and see who is actually running really, really bad creatives. So like you can see pretty quickly who are the ones that they're not really they're clearly that they're not having the right process in place to be able to produce good ads at scale. So for us, like that's one of the main indicators. But of course, then you need to still find the right people. We use for the spend tracking. We've also we use this provider called Pathmatics to get more of that the data to understand also the true levels of the budgets that go towards different channels.
Yes, and add to that, you can always interview the customers who say no to you. You can always call them and ask yourself, or do some, for example, we do some sales audits to our customer. So if Henrik goes to the meeting and the customer doesn't buy from Henrik, we can always call to the customer and interview what went good, what went bad, and how to improve the sales process, and did they find the product valuable, and interview the customer, so get the feedback and improve by it that way.
And in our situation, it has been just because we basically just don't have time. We've been growing so fast, so we have the two segments that we've been focusing on, which is the B2B SaaS and the e-commerce. But I have sold now 1 mil ARR. We are very close. We're hitting this month 1 mil ARR. So it's just we didn't have any more time, even though we have more segments or more ICPs. But those were the most low-hanging fruits, where we found that the sales cycle are short and we're in it's different stage than you. So I hope next year that we're talking about the same things also. But now my time is just filled with just speaking with clients, closing the deals, and I have been doing it myself. So now I finally have a sales team.
Yes, go on.
Okay, my name is Natalia. I'm founder of a startup here, and we have a SaaS targeted to B2B. So I have a very practical question following up the theme. We find we see our customers. We see the job titles. What we doing now, we try to search for the publication where those companies shows the interest, the challenge of the problem we try to solve with our solution. And my first question is maybe quite easy. Is it any solution to make it, to automate it first? And another question, what else can we do with that? So how can we search, for example, company like Volt? Yeah, they're doing a lot of publications, and I do understand that it is right customer for me. But there is no lot of information because our solution is targeted to employees, to engage employees. So people and companies don't usually write a lot about how they deal with their employees. So just any ideas? Thank you.
Yeah, how to automate? You mean like the outreach part of it, or just like finding the?
Just the research, because we were thinking about AI tool, but we don't have time to develop it. If it's anything ready, maybe just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean there are tools for that. You can use like Vainu or Profinder to create the list of the companies. Or I'm not sure if I'm getting to the grain of the question. Did you have some?
Yeah, one thing comes to my mind is just to create very good content and make the clients come to your page, like optimize your call to actions. And like 50% of our clients came through inbound, so they found us. So the buyers already know the context, they know our product, and they have been researching it. So that's one way of approaching that.
I think it's a great question in terms of like what type, almost like automating the signals for yourself that a certain client would be a good fit. Probably like depends a lot on the business, easier said than done. I think that a few things that like in a very simplest form, like if you actually really know, is to set up like a Google alert in terms of like certain changes, like even from the news in terms of like What I also have done a lot in the past is like follow the money in terms of, of course, like investment rounds, like anything that you can see that there's a lot of growth to that direction. Something that we've also done is that then, of course, like if you do have some like public, like, I mentioned already in our case, it's the ads. So like from public libraries that you are actually actively then scraping out the ads, that what are they, like what they're running, to see like what is going on and so forth. But then I think also just trying to think, still to me, like it's almost more about like trying to also think ahead that are there going to be some big like seasonal moments that that are going to be relevant for them, and then maybe more so try to meet those two things in the middle. That, let's say, like Olympics right now, like okay, for example, for us it's a very big push right now to try to put like, or let's say in the US, like NFL, like it means that right now like sports advertising is really popping. So like overall, like knowing ahead of time how do you need to position the messaging.
Great, thanks. We have time for one more question, and then I think the panelists are going to stick around for a few more moments if you have questions you want to ask in private.
Hello, my name is Zoa, and I'm a financial management student. I want to ask one question about sales and KPI. So everybody know that sale always go with KPI, and there are a lot of salesperson where maybe they're not forcing the customer to buy their product or something, but they might be acting that they are forcing the other people. So for example, for me, there are sometimes that maybe I really like some product, but then the salesperson come to me and they approach me too much that I feel like, hey, I'm scared of the product. I don't want to buy anymore. So how can you, as a lead person, to prevent that thing happen, and how to like balance the KPI and how the employee interact with the customer? Yeah, that's my question.
I think that the best way to avoid that is that the salespeople need to be also measured on the retention of the deals. Like it doesn't make sense that you try to bring over bad stuff like forcefully, but at least for our business, like our salespeople don't get their quota if the customer doesn't actually also stay with us for an X amount of time, which means that it's been actually a qualified opportunity and we've taken good care of them in the sales process. I think that it's always one of the worst experiences to like oversell and then underperform. If you get someone through the door, it's usually the biggest thing. You need to ensure that they have the best possible experience.
Yeah, exactly. And also within the sales organization of the company, I think the salespeople need to have clear how to like evaluate if this lead actually is going to get any value of this, what we are selling them. And with the questions, just like Henrik said, that he's doing mostly the first meeting, just questioning the prospect and finding out if there is really a good fit. And if you at any time feel uncomfortable as a salesperson, I think we all have that gut feeling that where the fine line goes, where you shouldn't persuade anymore and just give up the lead, because if you're forcing someone to be your client, you are just pushing it through and convincing them no matter what, they're not going to stay as your client, and also they might have a bad experience. And what does that do to your brand? And if there are people talking about that, yeah, they are very, very pushy, and it's not a good thing. Salespeople need to have the competence to evaluate.
Yeah, indeed, and I think it's creating value from the beginning of the sales process. Like we do it. Like we create example articles. We bring a lot of value before even the third meeting. So we create example strategies for the client. We create example article for free, and we do a very thorough business case where the client like sees that we have put in a lot of work before even we are not even asking for the deal. So we just try to help them from the beginning of the sales cycle.
yeah, thank you for the questions. Good questions.
Great, thank you so much. That's the end of the panel and end of the breakfast event. You may applaud now if you want. Yeah, thank you for the panelists. Thank you so much for coming over.